Hey, what is up guys, it's Lewpac back with another Albion Online video for you, and today we are going to be looking at the Queen patch 12, which is also known as the Season 9 balance patch. Now this is a super important patch because, as the name suggests, it brings in a ton of balance changes to the weapons, including new abilities and some big meta shifting stuff. So we're going to have a quick look over it, discuss what we think about it, and then I'll open it up to you guys in the comment section if you've got your thoughts on what the future meta is going to be, how this is going to impact the content that you play, whether it's 5v5, ZVZ, Hellgates, 2v2s, whatever. I'd love to know what the biggest changes are to your personal gameplay off the back of this, but without further ado, we'll get right into it. I'll try and explain everything in depth as much as I can. We'll scoot over the start, which is mobile improvements. Mobile improvements is good, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Mail improvements, you can actually now see the items that were bought and sold and collect items a lot easier. So the people that were crying about the mail stuff, it was a bit small initially and it was nicer but a bit hard on the eyes, so that's good. Next up though is a big change. Damage from yourself and allies is no longer lethal. So things like Graveguard Helmet, things like the one-hand dagger with the self-damage and Spectre's Jacket Burn can't kill you anymore, but they will knock you down. So if you're in a proper PvP fight, you might not insta-die, but you'll still be knocked down and be out the fight for 3 minutes. So it's pretty much the same unless your team ends up winning. But it's also good for those guys in PvE who have ever suicided with the Graveguard Helmet, myself included. We've all been there, lads, there's no shame in it. So that's just a little change to certain few items, and a big one for the Crystal Realm meta. The cap time has gone from 10 seconds to 7.5, so it's a lot quicker to grab a cap. It's a lot more viable to ninja back a cap when you're 3 capped and hold out pressure. Before, with 10 seconds, it was too easy to just be interrupted. It was too easy for someone to just take you out of the fight there. So that's a nice change. I think the 3 cap meta in 5v5 crystals is a bit too punishing, bit obnoxious. Once a good team gets hold of 3 caps, it's pretty much impossible to get back into the game unless they mess up or you win a really clear fight. So I like that change a lot. It was initially going to be 5 seconds, but they did revert to 7.5. It may go to 5 there if they think that this still isn't enough. So then we're going to run through the combat balance changes. A new Q ability for the Arcane staff called Magic Shock, which you can see in this footage here. I'll just show you a little bit of it casting and show you what it's like. So you can see it's like a purple beam pillar. It will do a 0.5 second cast, then a 3 meter radius. It will do damage and silence. The damage isn't insignificant for a Q ability, so it's quite a good damaging ability. It's a little bit clunky though with the cast time. It doesn't feel great to use, and the indicator's not that clear. Definitely an ability with potential, but I don't think it's as good as a Root and Sacred Ground from a Mace. People were saying, oh, this is going to be amazing now, but honestly, losing the shield in 5v5 on your Q ability is not great. So I don't think this is going to be the new meta. Some people are trying it, but this ability will definitely have use. It will definitely see play, but I don't think it's just going to redefine the meta. It's not like completely broken or anything. It's quite fun. I'd like to see some tanks using it in GVG. If I see some high levels with it in, I'll definitely be checking them out. Motivating Cleanse on the Arcane is now a ground target cast, which is nice. You can always cleanse yourself even when stunned. So you can like AoE cleanse people at range without having to target someone now. So a whole clump of guys. This is really good in ZVZ. Obviously Arcanes are often used for their empowering beams, but definitely an AoE cleanse with a cast range of 11 meters is good. Does cost 10% of your max energy, but now gives you a 40% move increase for 3 seconds instead of 20 for 5. So it's actually better overall in terms of distance covered, and works really well with an occult for boosting people's speed. So Arcane getting some love. Axes getting a bit of love here. Rending Strike and Raging Blades both have energy cost reductions, which is great because the biggest problem with Axes is the energy management. So anything to help that is good. And the Morgana's Raven, which is the carrion caller, gets a hard buff. More range, faster projectile, slightly more hit delay with less stand time, and a greater healing reduction. Might see this counter double healers in Hellgates, who knows? Interesting to watch this one. I've seen a few people play it already. It wasn't successful against my team, but it definitely still could creep into the meta and axes overall. I will quickly talk about hit delay and stand time for you guys, just so you understand what these are, because there's a few changes to that. Stand time is the time that your character stands still during the ability usage. So the lower the stand time, the more fluid it feels. Like a 0 stand time means you don't stop to cast. You can cast it while moving pretty much. So the lower the stand time, the more fluid and more fun it is to play, in my opinion. So I do like to see SBI progressing with less stand time on abilities, because I just feel like it just makes the game feel nicer to play. Like it already feels a little bit clunky because of global cooldown and stuff like that. So less stand time is really good. Hit delay is obviously the time between the animation hitting and the debuff or the damage being applied to the enemy. So that's, again, lower is better, but sometimes it's needed to give people a reaction window. Crossbows get a slight nerf to Sundershot. As we said in the meta snapshot, crossbows are slightly obnoxious. It's only a tiny little nerf, but this is a 0.03 nerf per stack, up to 10 stacks, I believe. So that's quite significant on a max stack Sunder, but it's still a top tier ability. It's amazing. Curse Staffs get a slight change to Armor Piercer. Trying to bring Armor Piercer back into the meta. It does more Armor Pierce, more damage. A shorter duration though, which I don't really like. Again, lower hit delay, lower stand time. Always a fan of that. Still think Desecrate and Grudge will be the go-to, but Armor Piercer is useful in dungeons, I believe. Daggers get a big change though. Daggers is one definitely worth talking about. We've already seen Death Givers be played by a top team and be successful, but now Deadly Swipe has a lower stand time, but Chain Slash has a shorter bounce range, but more damage and more cooldown. But the caster is now invulnerable while dashing, so it's super good. If the enemy's clumped, you can hit all 5 of them, go invisible, be untargetable, and be invincible on a 15-second cooldown. That is really nice for daggers. Charged up soldier's armor, something like that, will give that a lot of damage as well. So that's definitely going to propel Death Givers up the meta snapshot. Whether they'll progress to A or S tier, we'll see as time goes on. But there is teams using it and having success right now. Fire Staffs, we got slight change to Firebolt. It's going to be a quicker cast, less damage, less dot damage as well, but less energy cost. So this is obviously, it's balanced out. You're going to cast more of them, but it's going to do less damage each one. So it's a bit more of a spammy ability, but I still think Burning Ground is better in 5s for control. We'll see if anyone plays it. Ignite now becomes like an Assassinate ability. It's now got no hit delay and a lower stand time, a lot more instant damage, but it doesn't have a dot anymore. If the target is below 20% health, the caster gets a 40% move and cast speed buff for 3 seconds, which is kind of cool. So if someone's below 20%, you hit them with the Ignite, and suddenly you could just spam Qs on them. If you're using the single target Q, you could just unload. So that's kind of nice, but 20% is very, very low. Like a lot of times, a target at 20% in range of a fire mage should be dead anyway. So it feels a little bit weird, but I could see it working in a way, I guess. So we'll see how it plays. As a fire main previously, I will definitely be trying these out though in GVG. Hammers, Power Geyser gets a cooldown reduction, hit delay reduction, and a stand time reduction, a buff all around. One Hand Hammer, hit delay, stand time reduction, and Groundbreaker, my favourite one on the pole hammer, hit delay and stand time reduction, so a buff all round for the hammers. Holy Staffs then, the duration of Holy Blessing is reduced, and the physical armor buff is over halved. So a big nerf to Holy Blessing in these double healer setups. We see a lot of that. So definitely a nerf to the Holies that use that ability. It's quite powerful as well sometimes in 2v2s. That's a lot of physical armor. So we'll see if that changes the meta at all in 2s or 5s, of course. Maces gets a buff to Threatening Smash, bigger area. Lower stand time, lower hit delay, and the new Deep Leap on the one-handed mace is definitely one we've got our eyes on. It now does fixed damage no matter the distance, and the stun area has been increased. So it's a leaping AoE stun that does damage. So a one-hand mace with snare charge has 2 leaps. He has the root leap and the stun leap, a very, very mobile class, and a buff Threatening Smash if you want to hit AoE damage. Kind of a funky class. I want to see if it breaks into the meta and what builds we see, but who knows? Nature Staffs, cleanse again, similar to Arcane, can now be cast on the ground. Everyone in it gets the heal over time, and it can still be cast while stunned. Quarterstaffs, the Separator gets a nerf to the knockback, the duration of the slow, and the root duration. So a big nerf to the Quarterstaffs, really. They're kind of going to drop out, except in specific 2v2 comps that rely on the Quarterstaff fire combo, potentially. Spears get a bit of a buff to lunge, 1 meter range. Glaive is now a bit more powerful. It's easier to use, lower stand time, lower hit delay, bigger range, and doesn't consume your stacks. And the Trinity Spear now becomes a bit more viable in ZVZ because it can buff 10 targets instead of 5. That's cool. We'll see Spears. I know a few people have been trying out Glaive for GVG. No big successes just yet, but we'll see what happens. Swords, parry strike, cooldown increased, which is quite a big deal because this actually puts parry out of sync with certain abilities like crossbow E that you want to parry. However, parry is one of the weaker Ws in my opinion. The sword has very versatile range of Ws for every matchup, and it's the one-hand crossbow is the only matchup where you should probably be running parry. Big nerf to Ice Block in the armors though. Ice Block, while in Ice Block, healing reduced by 50%. This is to prevent it just being an emergency panic button that saves everybody. This is a really, really cool change in my opinion. I'm interested to see how it plays out, but it means that you have to be a lot more proactive and preemptive with your Ice Block, not just brainlessly press it in a panic. So that's a cool ability change. I think that was needed. Ice Block was a bit too good, I guess. So we'll see what happens there. Purifying Smoke on the Helmet of Valor. Hit delay and stand time reduced. Still not great, but we'll see if anyone plays it. And Boots of Valor, triggering the cleanse now grants 4 seconds immunity to stun, root, and slow. This actually could be good for healers potentially, or various 1v1 classes. It's cool. I'll play around with them and see if the Boots of Valor can make it into the meta, and I'll probably do a video on all of the Avalonian stuff once the weapons are out. But that's an interesting change. Hopefully it can become viable, but who knows. Finally, the mounts, the Command Mammoth and Colossus Beetle are now the same speed as a player while walking, which will mean they get killed a bit more. Once they're caught, they're going to get killed a lot more often now because they probably won't ever be able to redo their sprint once somebody's on top of them. And the Tower Chariot gets a buff to armor and resist. So that's it for the balance changes. Let me know what you think in the comments. There's some interesting stuff here. So this month's meta snapshot will obviously take all this into account. I'll probably do it in a week or so that there's been a load of crystals and I've got a good sample size to base it all off of. But I hope you liked this video. I'll be back with plenty more this week. I'm going to be taking a day or two off of the stream just to make loads of videos for you guys on the YouTube. So look out for loads more content coming soon. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day and I'll see you next time.